I'll give the filmmakers of Halloween Ends one thing for sure. They definitely got everyone talking this weekend. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And this has certainly been a wild and woolly weekend. And today, we're going to go to spoiler territory and we're going to discuss in depth Halloween Ends. Before we get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. I'm only 2 subscribers away to 500. I greatly appreciate all you out there, and thank you for coming back and checking out my content. I uploaded my Out of the Theater reaction Thursday night. I went to see it with my buddy Dale _ from the Bat and Spider podcast. Check out those boys over on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Those guys are awesome. I went with my buddy, my childhood friend. We've been friends for life. He's been my best man at my wedding. He's my child's godfather. My buddy Rich came down from Pennsylvania. We went to see it Thursday night. And just us three, when the movie ended, we all had different opinions. Dale really liked it, and his Letterboxd review's up. You can go check that out. Dale loved it. I was mixed on it. It took me all weekend just to marinate on it and just reflect on it to really be able to give a rating. I couldn't rate it right out of the theater because I was just blown away by what I had just seen, and my buddy Rich did not like it at all. And I have other friends I had a friend from Pennsylvania who was viscerally upset at how he thought the movie was a big piece of shit. I don't agree with that sentiment, but that was his take on it. He was furious with the way they capped off this trilogy. My sister and her fiance weren't big on it. They didn't hate it, but they weren't big on it. So the feedback just in my personal life has been very mixed. And I saw online the Halloween fan base, there was a lot of differing opinions. A lot of people visually hated it. Some people liked it a lot. Some people were mixed on it. I'll say one thing. They got everybody talking. So let's get into this, okay? So Halloween Ends caps our new Halloween trilogy. It started in 2018. This film was directed by David Gordon Green, like the other two films were, and he had a hand in the script with Danny McBride and some other writers. This was billed as Jamie Lee Curtis's last time as Laurie Strode in the final battle between Michael and Laurie, and Jamie Lee Curtis is back here as Laurie. Andy Manichak is back as her granddaughter, Allison. Rohan Campbell plays Corey Cunningham, which is obviously a nod to Christine. There's a few nods to Christine in this film because apparently David Gordon Green loves John Carpenter's Christine, as I do as well. And he's our new character, and we'll talk about him because you can't help but not talk about him with this film. Will Patton, which is always nice to see him back. He's back as Frank once again. And James Jude Courtney was back to play The Shape. Was he really in this film? Not very much. We'll get into that as well. This film, they did something bold. Now, originally, the trilogy was supposed to take place on one night. That was what the map they had laid out for themselves for this trilogy. After this huge success of Halloween in 2018, the plan was Kills was going to pick up right after it, and Ends was going to happen on the same night too. Everything was going to happen on one night. COVID hit. They shot Kills, and because they were going to shoot them back to back, and they ended up not shooting them back to back, because they even shot this one in Savannah, Georgia, where they shot Kills in Wilmington, not too far where I stand right now. But in the meantime, while they were not shooting Halloween Ends, they went back and rewrote the script, and this is what we got. Now, I'd be curious to know what their plans were originally, just because I love the Halloween franchise, and I'd just be curious to see where their original intent was before they went and it totally took a whole big left turn somewhere else. But this movie picks up 4 years later. We're introduced to Corey right in the beginning. He is going to babysit this 10-year-old kid, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, because his parents are going to a Halloween party. And they're watching John Carpenter's Thing. Awesome. David Gordon Green for putting that in there because it's a callback to the original Halloween where Lindsay Wallace was watching the original Thing, the black and white version. And in this one, we have Carpenter's masterpiece, The Thing, on TV. And the kid starts playing a prank on Corey, and Corey goes looking for the kid. He's panicked because the front door is open. He doesn't know where the kid went because he just went in the kitchen to get something to snack on. And the kid locks him in the attic. Now, they do set it up where you think Michael might show up in the beginning, but Michael does not show up. And the kid locks Corey in the attic, and he won't let him out. And his parents are just pulling up into the driveway and walking into the house, and Corey kicks the door open, hits the kid, and the kid goes 3 stories down to the floor right in front of his parents and is dead. He didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. And so at the beginning of this movie, I really did like it, even though we don't see Michael. We don't even see Laurie for the first 10 minutes of this film or however long this scene goes on. And then we're reintroduced to Laurie. She's writing a book to get out her demons. She's living happily, still in Haddonfield, which could be questionable why she would even stay. But Allison's living with her, and Allison's working as a nurse at the local hospital that was so prominent in Halloween Kills. And Allison seems happy. She's about to get a promotion at work, hopefully, which doesn't work out. And they seem happy. And Andy Manichek and Jamie Lee Curtis have good chemistry here. I have no complaints there. They do work well off each other. I don't like where Allison's character goes later in the film. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Corey, this is, 4 years later, because when Corey, the kid, got killed was in 2019. So this is 3 years later, 4 years after the events of Halloween night of 2018. And Corey's kind of the outcast in town. Everybody thinks he killed that kid on purpose. We all know he didn't. It was an accident. And so Corey's not very well received in town. And neither is Lori, which kind of baffles my mind. Because Lori, people blame her for Michael's rampage. And we get a surprise appearance by that woman that got stabbed in the throat with the light bulb in Halloween Kills. That was the caretaker at the Great Cemetery in the first one, Halloween 2018. And when I showed her, I'm like, there's no way that woman's alive. And her sister's like calling Lori out as she's walking out of the store, blaming her for her sister getting attacked by Michael. And basically the town kind of looks at Lori. Some of the town folk look at Lori as her fault that Michael came back and killed everybody. It's a really bizarre story choice. It didn't make a lot of sense, but it does make a parallel between Lori and this Corey. Lori sees Corey getting picked on by these high school assholes at the mini mart, and she helps him out. And she thinks he's a good guy. He's a nice kid. It just needs to get a second chance. Like, she believes that he didn't really kill that kid maliciously. And she kind of hooks him and Allison up together. And him and Allison start seeing each other. Matter of fact, Allison takes Corey to a costume party at this bar where Lindsay Wallace is working, because Lindsay Wallace is back in this film as well. She doesn't get a whole lot to do. She pops up from time to time, but she doesn't get a whole lot to do. And there is a cameo. Nick Castle cameos as not to shape in this film. There's a guy in a costume at the party that opens up his coat and goes, "Do you see something you like?" Which is a callback to Linda in the original Halloween, PJ Souls' character. I thought that was pretty cool. And seeing Nick Castle not dressed as a shape for once in the movie was pretty cool as well. But Michael is not in this film for the longest time. And eventually, Corey gets thrown off of this bridge after this party because him and Allison have an argument, and he ends up having to run in with these asshole high school kids again. And the one kid pushes him off this bridge, and he lands down in this, like little creek bed area. And here's where the what the F moment happens. Michael pulls Corey into the sewer where Michael has apparently been living the last 4 years. But Michael's weak. But Corey kind of escapes and he leaves. And this is what sets forth Corey's path of really turning to the dark side. Corey goes back to the pipe and he wants Michael to show him how to be a killer. And Michael, when he touches Michael, it's almost like a Halloween 4 with Jamie at the end when she touches Michael and she goes home and stabs her stepmother in the tub with the scissors. It's kind of like that because Corey starts making very odd choices for him and starts going to the dark side, as it were. But him and Allison, their love affair just is a freight train. Like, Allison's like all about this kid now. Like, she just wants to be with him. She's even talking about leaving town with him. In a very quick amount of time, she's ready to leave town with this kid. And Lori starts seeing Corey. She's really focusing on him now, and she doesn't like what she sees. Like, she sees a lot of the same characteristics in Corey now after his encounter with Michael that she saw in Michael's eyes. And she's trying to talk Allison into not dating Corey anymore and get away from him, and Allison's not having any of it. So that becomes a point of contention between those two characters. Allison's arguing with Lori and telling her, she never moved on, and now she's trying to run her life. It's a bizarre character choice. And I didn't like the way Allison treated Lori, considering their past and what they've gone through. And they seem so happy to be in the movie, but then Allison kind of turns on Lori at one point. And it's just kind of weird, man. It's a weird choice. I didn't kind of agree with that. I thought it was out of character for Allison, considering she's been a kind of a smart, independent woman who doesn't overreact to things. And here she's just overreacting and making, accusations to Lori that don't make a whole lot of sense. And there's no reason for her to do this stuff, considering she's a little bit older now. She's working full time. She's a nurse. And all of a sudden she's on this kid's side, and that's it. It doesn't matter what anybody says to her. But eventually, Corey and this is a choice that was like, I couldn't believe I was watching this. Corey goes back and wrestles the mask off of Michael, pushes Michael around like a bitch, uses the mask and kills a bunch of people. And then we have to set up our big finale of Michael and Lori. Well, here Corey shows up at Lori's house dressed as Michael Myers and tries to kill her. Lori takes him out, shoots him, And then Allison's showing up and he knows it. And he goes, well, if I can't have her, you can't have her. And he stabbed himself in the throat. And Allison walks in and it looks like Laurie killed Corey, although Corey was trying to kill her. And Allison overreacts and leaves. And then the real Michael shows up, takes his mask back from Corey. And then we get our final battle in Laurie's kitchen. And eventually Laurie stabs him a bunch of times, slits his throat, slits his wrists. And this is another interesting choice. They strap him to the hood of Allison's car, and the cops clear the streets, and it's like a processional. Everybody just follows Laurie to the junkyard, which Corey works at and his stepdad owns. And they throw Laurie throws Michael's body into this. It just crushes up cars and metal and stuff. And we see Michael get torn to pieces. And that's pretty much the end of Halloween Ends. Very interesting choices, considering what was set up in the first two films. The first two films, I really like Halloween 2018. Halloween Kills, I just rewatched it again with my buddy Dale _A. I like Kills. I think there's some unnecessary choices in that, mainly that hospital scene with the guy from the bus that slows the pace down. That scene can be exercised from him. I'll die on that hill. That scene's pointless. Doesn't need to be there. It was a little overindulgent, if you ask me. But I like where the series was going. This is a hard left turn. That's why I can understand why some people hate it. It's so different from the first two films, where we spend most of the time with this Corey kid, who's a new character that we have not seen before, and Allison and their kind of love story as it goes along. And we spend a copious amounts of time with this new character, which I like the actor, and he's good here. And even the character, I like the character. But they're on screen a lot, and this kid's on screen a lot. We basically focus on them. Michael Myers might be on screen 10 minutes. I don't even know if it's even 10 minutes. And then the final battle with Michael and Laurie, it's pretty good. I would say, I mean, they gave Jamie Lee Curtis her swan song. She's done with the character. I can't ever see her coming back at this point. And her and Michael go at it. I think, is it satisfying? It kind of is. It's not great, but it was satisfying enough. I think her resolution in Halloween H2O was better, though, when she chopped his fucking head off with the axe. It was a much more crowd-pleasing moment. They do destroy the body for once, so I gotta give them props there. At least they did take that step. The whole love story aspect and going in a totally different direction, I think by that story itself with Corey's story and him falling in love, but the town looks down on him for that, would have been a great one-off movie. Here it just feels weird that this is where we decide to end this trilogy and the saga between Michael and Laurie. I thought it was a really bizarre choice. Now, I like Rowan Campbell does a great job as Corey. As a matter of fact, I think the acting across the board is pretty damn good in this film. I think it's nicely shot. David Gordon Green, nice job with it. It looks nice. The score by Carpenter and his son and his godson is great as usual. Carpenter knocks it out of the park there. I think there's references to Christine in this movie, and even you could take the parallels when Corey is becoming evil is when Christine has more influence over Arnie and Christine, but also it does parallel Halloween 4 with Jamie touching Michael's hand and then going to stab her mother at the end of the film when Loomis starts screaming. So they definitely call back to other Carpenter films, and there's another callback to Halloween 3 with the title credits in the beginning as the same blue font from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. So I thought that was cool. There's a lot of, I could understand the divisiveness online with this and the Halloween fans, because it's a hard left turn. And if you were expecting one last badass slasher film with Michael Myers and then a Laurie clash, and that's the end of the trilogy, you get those things, but in small doses. There's not a lot of kills in this film. Some of the kills are pretty damn good when they do happen. This is not the bloodbath Halloween Kills was. I mean, there's one kill in particular that really stands out. They're not afraid. They do show a lot of blood here, but it's nothing like Halloween Kills. So you're not going to get the bloodbath you got in the last film. I didn't like... This felt like a weird movie to me. It almost felt like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch in a way. And maybe maybe people look more kindly on it as years go on. Who knows, as it gets reevaluated over time. I totally get people that hate it. I'm still in the mixed aspect of it. There's a lot of things I do like here. There's a lot of stuff I don't care for. I didn't like how Michael got pushed around by Corey, and then you see Michael starting to get his strength back, but I'm like, are we going back to the Thorn cult? Like, Michael gets all his powers on Halloween when the stars are aligned? Like, why is this a thing now? Where in Carpenter's original, that was never set up, you know? You could hurt Michael, but he always keeps coming back. But for Corey to shove him around and take his mask, I was like, well, that's a poor choice. I don't like that either. Now, as a lifelong Halloween fan, it's my favorite horror series. Michael Myers is my favorite big bad of all of them. So we always complain that Hollywood keeps giving us the same shit over and over and over again. And I totally get that. And I like originality, and I like things that surprise me. And this definitely did surprise me. I think the problem is, and why people hate it, and I'm only speculating here, but just talking to people I mentioned earlier in this review, is when you have a film set up the way it was with the first two films, and then you give us this for the third and trilogy capper, you're going to piss a lot of people off. And that's just nature, because people wanted to see one last badass Michael Myers movie, and he's barely in the film. And that was a big complaint I've heard from a lot of folks that saw it over the weekend, was Myers is hardly in it. And you're focused on this other character that really, until this movie, we didn't know existed. So I get all the criticisms. I totally understand it. I'm still in the middle. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It's not my favorite Halloween movie. It's definitely not my favorite of this trilogy. But at the end of the day, I feel confident on giving this movie a 6.5 out of 10 right now. I need to see it again a few more times, and it might go up, it might go down. But right now, a 6.5 out of 10 for Halloween Ends. Have you seen this one yet? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. I would love to hear what you thought of this film. There's so many different opinions out there. I've been reading shit all weekend. And it took me all weekend to think about it and to come up with what I was going to rate it. Because I was unsure when I walked out and when I gave my out of the theater reaction. I wasn't certain how I felt about it yet. Again, there's things I like about it, but there was also things I didn't care for. Yeah, 6.5 out of 10 for this movie. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you and see what you think about it. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter. I always put a lot of pictures up over Instagram. Check that out. Just Brian Rummel, you'll find me. I'll be back soon with my new Halloween ranking video. But until then, bye.